Participate in a conversation with once conservative, now liberal Midwest mastered prepared special education high school teacher and a self-proclaimed devil's advocate, East Coast conservative liberal, baccalaureate prepared registered nurse. These two strangers met, became instant friends, and realized their conversations are candid and epic. So join us weekly, ask us questions, and listen to these profoundly candid friends try to solve the world's problems, one discussion at a time.
Hey, welcome to another awesome episode of The New Theory with Monet and Jared, aka TNT with MJ. I am Jared.
I'm Monet.
And together we are teaching minds
and nurturing souls.
Monet and I have been talking for like the past half hour. And so after like several attempts, we're going to pick up the conversation because we feel like it's prevalent and important to help dismantle predispositions, hopefully expose some implicit biases, and really just kind of show how to have these hard conversations.
Yes.
Because based on what we were just talking about, I think Monet and I might butt heads a little bit. So just saying. I love my sister, but look, we got to argue from time to time too, right?
Well, that's how you.
That's what siblings do.
You got to break the earth, to so you can cultivate and make new things grow. That's Absolutely. Really what it is, for sure.
Absolutely.
And with that being said, I literally was like, I'm scared for you because I think you're becoming obsessive. I make the jokes from time to time that Jared is super pro-Black. I mean, my God. Look at his background, for heaven's sakes. Mine is just a bunch of stones. This brother here just can't get off of like social justice issues 1,000%. And that kind of like transcends his Facebook page, his personal page. And I'd be like, Jared, like, again, now mind you, we had this over the end of the summer, we had this conversation. I was just like in tears, very fearful of retaliation. Against you because, of my implicit bias that I was raised with and fear of white people. And this all stems from our previous conversation. You're literally catching us in the middle of a heated discussion, not heated, but a discussion, because we were talking about the past current events, one of which was a gentleman that went into a shop and murdered 8 Asian women.
Actually, he hit it was at least 2 spas. And,
he hit 2 different spas.
Killed 6 people. Oh no, killed 8 people, 6 of whom were Asian women. The other 2 was a white man and an older white man and a middle-aged white woman. Not that matters. So
but no, it's just that's what the news said, and we're just repeating it. And that was an atrocity in itself. It's unfortunate that we've been we're slightly desensitized when we hear a white man has done something egregious. We're like, oh my God, but we put him in the white man category. So it's like, we don't put him in the terrorist, psychotic, deranged category. We do, but it's like, he's a white man. And to add insult to injury, the judge, the sheriff, exactly, was like, he's having a bad day. Now, mind you, this comes also at the same time. This came in Indianapolis, Indiana. A man with this money that we're getting, because we love talking about current events. We were going to talk about Cardi B and all that. But this man he's a Black man, kills 4 of his baby mom's relatives over the stimulus money. Mm-hmm. Wow. These are issues. And it's not like we're saying, we're talking about atrocities in the country. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk about them equally because they're equally grotesque and disgusting. Right.
Here's my question though. That's going to be a great litmus test. Another great litmus test as far as the progression and advancement of the criminal justice system. Maybe they both.
He should be under the jail.
The white guy needs to be charged with a hate crime. Period.
It's beyond hate. Like, he needs to be executed. This needs to send a message to, because But
my point being, how are they? Both committed murder.
Horrible murder.
Right? Yeah, it was intent.
Over sick. Yeah, both had intent.
So you can call it. You can call it first degree. Easy.
Perfect. Yes.
So how is it going to be judged? How's it going to be handled? Are they going to get equal sentencing? And if they're not, are they going to argue, well, it's different
y'all
states?
Didn't see it. I hope y'all saw it. He's implying that the white man may potentially get a lesser charge than the black man. But should they equally get the same thing? Yes. I am all about capital murder with regards to, he had the gun. We all saw he had the gun. We all saw him do it. Like, I don't want anybody killed if there's a question, period.
Right.
If there's a question, the smallest question. Yes, I'm a humanitarian and I do believe in it, but you kill, why are you still breathing? Like, I just don't. And Pierre Monet, fuck you. This is my personal opinion. Okay.
I'll just say this. At least the black man was honest in why he did what he did.
Fuck that. That's a sick motherfucker right there.
No, I agree with you. Don't get me wrong. But see, here's the thing. The white man is claiming a sex addiction. That's why he did what he did.
He's a sick motherfucker too.
I'm not denying that. I'm not arguing that point. I'm just telling you what the white man said versus the black man saying, yep, got me.
Both y'all did something disgusting.
Sure. Absolutely.
Heinous.
Absolutely.
Grotesque. Why are you still breathing? Like, I don't give a fuck if you get water. Good night. I'll see you on the other side. Get it out of here.
Mm-hmm.
It don't need to be here. What are we fucking thinking about? This is a waste of time. Clean cut. You're sick. Get the fuck. No, you can't be rehabilitated right now. You did something that was so, this woman got, I don't know, she had 2 kids. I'm not counting her pockets, right. But she got the $1,400. Mm-hmm. She gave the black guy $450. He said, I'll be back. On Saturday, she gave him $450. Jared, if you give me, he said, I'll be back for the rest. Jared, if you give me $450, oh my God. People are like, I can spend it in 1 second. Yeah, what am I buying? I'm a big girl. I'm going to buy food. I can't buy $450 worth of food. So my point is, he's on drugs. Really? I don't even know the street value. Like, what are you doing? That's $450. I guess a lot. Then it goes, and this is my PSA to people, white, black, Hispanic, or indifferent. If you see something like that, because mind you, I lived in Western Pennsylvania and in Kansas, and in Missouri. I know what meth addicts and heroin addicts and all of them look like, probably also because of my field. Yeah, I know you can ball out on some drugs in one night with that much money. But ladies, all ladies, if you see them dabbling with stuff, we ain't making no kids. You feel me? And that is real. That's my real PSA. I'm just so mad. Exactly. Yeah. Like, he could have been just a boyfriend.
Yeah.
So then it's like, when we look at that type of situation, we ask ourselves, like, how do we fix it? Can't fix it. I'm trying to be politically correct. Fuck politically.
You're trying to be sensitive to this, to the situation, and I understand. I hear you. I understand where you're coming from.
But I do want to talk about
as best I can.
I want us to talk about things within communities that need to be discussed, because if you don't talk about it, then certain things are going to get lost.
Yeah.
Case in point, we can look at that individual like he is a fucked up individual that made a fucked up choice.
Mm-hmm.
But then that's not the first time we heard of something like that in the community. Being black, and this is just me being black. This is me having the conversations amongst black people that we have. you know, I already told you what we would have said as soon as we opened the article. These, like, here we go, over money. Yeah. Now, how do we fix that within our community as a Black person? And I'm going to say this, and I know it may make people feel uncomfortable because Jared's white and from Arkansas, and it's like you're sharing this with him. Well, these are the sensitive topics that we all should be having.
Absolutely.
Because here's the deal: if I sit here and try to act well, Jared don't. He is a part of our community. We're all a part of each other as a community. Okay, and if your brain can't conceptualize that's why we're here.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
He can be a part of this conversation because he's a part of this world that we're all in. We're all about social justice for everyone. And this isn't the same as Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter. This is an atrocity that happened in the community. And there's an underlying current in the community where there needs to be education and resources for individuals in the community so that fighting over, because what did we say the other day, Jared? Some of these people, and this is the guys, was it you? Yeah, probably. We have so many conversations.
We do.
This is the largest sum of money some people have ever had in their bank account.
We did have that conversation. Yeah. Yes. And then I remember telling you that, well, man, we got over this amount of money. That's the first time in one lump sum that we've gotten that. Something like that.
Exactly. That speaks volumes of the work that needs to go into the community.
But then I would argue that it's not just the community, that it needs to be at a local and state and even federal level, that those changes need to be made for there to be even any stretch of equity. So
and now we go to the other atrocity. Then we talk about the white man. Now, what do we do with this situation? We had this conversation yesterday.
Are we talking about the Atlanta guy?
Yeah.
The guy, yeah.
The other atrocity.
Yeah, no.
How do we fix that? Mass shootings, building bombings.
I'm with you. You can't, because that dude drove 30 to 40 miles out of his way.
Go ahead. Sorry.
He drove 30 to 40 miles out of his way to Atlanta, targeted these specific places. Now, regardless if he's been there before or not, I don't give a fuck. He targeted these places. He made the special trip.
Exactly.
And then on top of that, he goes 30, 40 miles further south when he's done. He had an escape route. Come on. He had that shit planned out. That's first degree murder. Whether you want to call it, whether he wants to justify it as a sex crime or not, or a sex addiction.
That, exactly.
Fuck that. No, you targeted these places. I think because there was only 2 white people that got killed and the majority of them were Asian women, you specifically targeted Asian women. And if you want to argue, well, if I can't have them, no one can. Well, that just speaks to your sickness.
So,
I mean,
what is it then?
I'm not. See, here's where Monet and I disagree. I truly do not believe in capital punishment.
Okay, I respect that.
I don't care. Throw him in a cell for the rest of his life
but
by himself.
Torture.
Lock him with a wiki. Well.
So I feel like just eliminate torture.
He put 8 different families through torture.
He did. He is. So I'm like, maybe he should be hung. I don't know. Like, and that's horrible. I know Jared's like, nay. And I love that you say, because there was a time where I was about absolutely like, no. Fuck all that. I'm done with that shit. But at the same time, I understand that God's children.
If we're going to talk about pedophilia, if we're going to get into children, then that's a whole different ballgame. Yeah, put those guys in general pop. Put those guys in gen pop.
Story time. When I was in prison,
let the other guys handle him. Just saying.
When I was in prison,
I'm not.
There was a typical, like, quintessential Caucasian, like middle-aged, upper.
And I'm going to stop you there because 50. You just said when I was in prison. Just clarifying and reminding folks that she was a nurse working in the prison system. So when she said she was in jail, prison, she was actually an employee, not actually in prison. Just saying.
But you know what? For anyone that has ever worked corrections, you really are like, you kind of like, you know, once you're in there, you're like really in there. So forgive me for misleading, but
no. I just
when I was a nurse in prison, we had, you know, we do late intakes, okay, and it was this guy. I don't know why he didn't go to jail, but I think because of how heinous his abuse was, they just said, just put him in prison and we'll just hold him in prison. He was sexually abusing. Molestation to me is like the touching and stuff. He was full on sexually abusing his relatives' children. That he made it so, yeah, he was like the Candyman kind of deal, you know, middle-aged white guy, you know, white hair, looking like Santa or Pop, you know, and just being egregious with it. And, you know, like I said, they're all God's children. Mind you, I'm in prison and I'm treating these inmates like cousins, brothers, uncles, not because, you know, I want to be friends, but because I have to segregate that capitalist mindset that I have, you know, like, and say they're still human, they're still God's children. Let me treat them as such. And I had to internalize it because people can feel when you're being disingenuous. Okay. So I'm, you know, talking to him and he's like, you know, first took his blood pressure was sky high. You know, I'm calming him down. He's feeling better. I said, look, this is just you know, you're here now. They're going to do some investigations. We're going to go through this process, you know. And he was like, okay. From the COs, he was just being told all kinds of horrible things. And this man started like having major panic attacks because he thought from the food to the air he breathed, he was going to get killed. The psychological torture. So we wound up putting him in the psychiatric observation cells because he was skitzing out so bad in the regular Gen Pop that we put him in isolation for real. And even then,
I'm laughing because of the look you gave me.
It's true though. General population. As you use that term.
Give me a hard time about it.
He thought even when he was in the isolation, and I was assuring him, no, I'm breathing the same air you're breathing. No one's gonna pump. But from the COs to the inmates, people were saying the most heinous shit to him to made this man like he was sheet white and sweating and I'm like, will y'all stop? You're gonna kill this man just with psychological torture. So yeah, you're right. Being in general population does do. I mean, we had many sex offenders that we segregated based on the fact that either they were going to get victimized physically or sexually, because once they found that, you're a nothing in prison when it comes to that. And I'm like, why don't you just put them out there, you know? But we don't want to go back to those days where we had public hangings. Some of us want that because some people should, but Jared, so then this goes to the conversation. What do we do with white men or men in general? Because both of these men did something horrible. And I told you I was watching my favorite news feed, TikTok.
Love it.
and I literally was like, my phone's off to the side and I'm listening because I don't need to watch it because I'm always multitasking because of my ADHD. And I heard we should lock them up at 6:00 at night. I don't know who the woman was, but she looked like like an aristocrat, like type businesswoman from England, if I'm not mistaken. And she was talking about if men were put away at 6:00 at night and they had to be, they had to tell everywhere they've been, they had to go to the magistrate and say, hey, I have to go to work at this time. I have a doctor's appointment this day. Like, we have tabs on everywhere they are. She said crime would drastically reduce. Drastically. If they're sex offenders, if they're abusers, they're not allowed to live with their, during the day shift. Police officers at night are female. Shootings would go down drastically. We talked about this yesterday. And you were like, but Monet, originally you said white men. I was like, well, look who's causing all the chaos in America.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, it's not just, it's all men. Right. We have 2 heinous crimes that happened this week.
Mm-hmm.
Probably more.
Oh, yeah.
Caused by men. And I'm talking to my brother, and I love him.
Fair enough.
And I know it's like, then do we have women vouch for men? Do we have women vouch for men? Like, would I say, well, he doesn't need to be locked up? Like, we don't need to keep tabs on him. We don't need to keep horrific tabs. But I would have to talk to Cedar, be like, how do you feel about that? Because you live with him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And had we been traditional brother and sister, I'm like, I would vouch from our childhood. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
Go ahead, Jared.
No, like, it's interesting because I'm like, where are you going to draw that line? I mean,
women would have to vouch for men. But you got some sick mothers out there that be like, my son's an asshole.
Yeah. Well, no, then you got like, some other sick mothers like, oh, my baby's just perfect.
Yeah. Like, yeah, so where do you draw?
That's not my baby. That's not who I raised.
Case in point, watched a video on YouTube. I don't know how I got into those series. Sometimes YouTube turns into a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
A wormhole. And
I really try to avoid those.
Yeah.
Even on Facebook, I'm like, nope, this is going to be a wormhole.
Right.
Yeah, gotta go.
With that being said, this guy killed, I don't know where he was. He in Georgia? He killed 5. He had 5 kids. He killed all 5 of them.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And his family was still like supporting him.
Mm.
They were like, oh, he had a psychological break. Yeah. I think it happened in 2016, 2017. I don't know when, but he had these 5 kids. He was like an engineer. He was a smart guy. He lived in the southern state. I need to go through my video history. I'll bring it up. A white guy, but black people do horrible. The black guy that, I don't want to tit for tat with race because it's so my point is, my blanket discussion is,
got it.
These individuals that do these heinous things. Yes, these men that do these heinous things. What do we do about it as a society? I'm going to throw something crazy out there. Go ahead, bro.
No, I'm just like when I, you said you don't want to go tit for tat for race, but I'm going to go there. It seems that there's more of consequence and more of a deterrent for black men not to commit these types of crimes, whereas white men seem to have a free pass, if you will, in comparison.
Wow, it's so funny you say that because I'm like, the over policing in one area to the sympathy and lack of policing in another area leads to these like really labile, like erratic acts of both forms of psychotic passion.
Yep.
Like this level of entitlement on one side and this level, well, there's another form of entitlement on another side, but it's greed and gluttony based on the lack of resources.
Right.
So, I mean.
So you ask what needs to be done? I would say the first thing that needs to be done is fucking make a standard, period, across the board, regardless of who did what color your skin is, where neighborhood you're in, what state you're in. You did this, boom, done.
Exactly. Period. I think jail should be for violent offenses, non-violent offenses like drug charges
instead of
stuff.
The guys carrying around a bag of weed on a weekend,
and you're getting 3 years and shit for that.
Yeah.
Like that's just pathetic. Like, come on. You're abusing, you're taking a father.
I mean, let's go back to George. I mean, we could even bring up George Floyd because the majority of his criminal record is cocaine possession. Period. And the amount of cocaine that he had was less than a gram, period. And there was no intent to sell. There was nothing else. And for those that are like, oh, Jared, I can't believe you're arguing for pro-drugs. Like, no, let's get some shit straight.
Period.
If you've got, I mean, it's obvious That's personal consumption. If you're 40 years old and you're carrying around a little dime bag of Coke or whatever else, God forbid it's meth or heroin, but I'm just saying.
Go to treatment. Your punishment is to go to treatment.
That's where I'm going with like rehabilitation. That needs to be, and that's when you've got, oh man, Northwest Arkansas had a really great program at one point. And for the life of me, I don't know if it's still going on or not, but this judge took it upon herself, seeing the number of cases, drug-related court cases coming across her desk, coming across her bench. And she finally decided to do something about it and said, let's develop this drug court where I'm only adjudicating drug-related court cases. But instead of prison time, we're going to put them through not necessarily forced, but court-ordered rehabilitation.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And if you qualify for that and you agree to the terms and all this other stuff, after a year, your record is expunged.
Thank you. Why not?
Period.
So why did they stop?
I don't know if they did or not. I think the judge that originally started it stepped down or has moved on to something else.
It was a female judge though, right?
It was
Just saying. Because we all, as nurturers, we all desire some form of, rehabilitation.
But see, that kind of program needs to be federalized and put in place across all 50 states. Period.
These are real issues. These are issues that's going to affect you. How you want to sit here and take a man? Now, mind you, I had two fathers. I had a stepfather and I had my biological father. Raised with real men, both Army, Vietnam vets. Look, don't get me started. Baby doll me, coddled me, held me, kissed me, never felt any kind of fear of sexual abuse. Fathers. I had two big brothers, one of which is still alive. Okay? I was raised with men in my life. Why? So why would you take a man and put him in jail for child support? Okay, so he's not paying. Look,
what's the problem?
I need you to go to work.
That. Yeah,
I'm not putting you in jail for this. We're gonna keep this up until you amass all your, but you have to go to work. We're gonna put an ankle bracelet on you. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. Exactly, because throwing you in jail is not paying. And when I hear men are in jail for child support, I'm like, this is an oxymoron. Not only did you take this man away from his child, but you're taking the resources that the child needs away because you put him in jail. What is it, Jared? Am I missing something?
No, it just hit me. How many men that are in jail for child support do you think are black compared to those that are white?
That's my point.
See,
this happens to white men too. It happens to white men too.
Yeah, you're right.
Because look, when I was in a prison,
I'm seeing that as another mechanism. I'm seeing that as another mechanism for oppression.
It is. It's yes.
And that's just where, again, going back to Monet's point.
There he is, super black. No, so we had a very emotional night.
That's a real fucking problem. Yeah,
it is. Yeah. Me, Jared, and Cedar had a very emotional night last night because I when Jared gets on his tangents, we talked about. So at the beginning of this broadcast, we were in the middle of a conversation, but we had to make sure the current events were involved because we like keeping our tabs. And now it brings it back to Jared is not obsessed. But as a big sister, as a sister, I'll be worried because of my implicit bias about white people. I'm like, I don't want people coming after you and trying to use their ways, for lack of better term, on trying to undermine you or come after you because you are exposing all of these atrocities, all of these issues. Go ahead, Jared. Come on now, because I know for a fact you lost family on Facebook.
Every damn time that happens, because it does happen, and it's at times more often than not mild.
Thank God.
I have yet to. You know, I've been called obsessive. I've been called communist. I've been called socialist. And bear in mind, I don't consider any one of those things a bad thing. Let's get that straight. Even with communists, even with communists, I mean, on paper, in theory, yeah, no, that's a great program.
Shut up. God.
But putting it into practice, that's where it got messed up. At any rate, so I don't consider insults, and I think it's hilarious because what it tells me is that you are so fucking fragile, so fucking defensive that you are not even open to other people's perspectives that disagree with yours.
And with that being said, Jared, we have to be sensitive because some people just.
Oh, that's where my passive aggressiveness comes into play. Like, I'm going to use your logic. Oh, so you're telling me this? Okay, so let me take what you just said and apply it to my point and show you where you're wrong.
But Jerry, you have to understand you're talking to people that cannot relate to opening their minds to the fact that they have to change the mindset that they were raised with. You know what?
I've had that happen a couple of times, actually.
White people don't realize, and so we have to say I have to say this on a regular basis. And yes, I am speaking directly to white people. You don't realize when a Black person speaks of an incident of racial bias that is happening to them, it's not coming from that one incident. That's like you as a white person talking about one bad experience at this restaurant here or something. This is something like I explained to Jared from my childhood, being a fucking 5-year-old in kindergarten, and remember hearing to this day my white kindergarten teacher saying, oh, well, they wouldn't understand how to do that. And asking myself in the back of my head, does she mean us as a group of, but not being able to generalize it to Black people? Like, what do you mean they? Just us as a classroom, or like, I don't understand what she's talking about. That's number one. But number two, like growing, like this is it's repetitive with Black people getting followed in the malls. You ask any Black person, and when we tell white people, they be like, I don't want to deal with that because that's fucked up. And you've been dealing with it all this time. That's how we feel. That's how I feel y'all feel. Not you, but white people feel.
Right.
I feel white people are like, oh, y'all been dealing with it all this time. But I'm like, no, we already know we shouldn't be dealing with it all this time. That's why we keep talking about it. And so Jared's like, wait. He opens and comes into this world. He's like, oh my God. He's an educated person with 2 master's degrees. And as an educated man, he's like, I see how this system is broken and I want the world to know. And so it's like, he wants to educate us, but he's also coming from fucking pissed off. And me as his sister, I'm like, wait,
that's true.
don't wait. We gotta, because I'm worried for him. Again, we had this conversation in August. What are we now in March? Again, seeing us very emotional. And I'm like emotional, and I'm like, no, Jared, but I'm still like, I don't want people to think you're obsessed. I was like, post some other. He's like, fuck no. He's like, I'm gonna do what I feel is right because this is the only way people are gonna get it, Monet. You gotta keep hammering it for people to say to you, why? Just ask fucking why.
That's it. That's where I'm coming from. Just simply ask why instead of shunning what's being said. Instead of being defensive and throwing up the walls and saying, oh, I can't handle that. You're not even saying I can't handle that. You're giving all kinds of excuses. The people that I come in contact with.
So psychologically, we're dealing with people that were taught.
But I was taught the same shit.
And so then we have to give them the nuance that you came to that said, okay, so this one white woman said to me in a private.
But see, the thing is, I can't give that to them because
you came to that realization
that fast. And it pisses me off even more, the fact that it took me that long to see it. You know what I'm saying?
I understand.
It took me Floyd to finally fucking see it. Like, I'm sitting here defending the cops with the Michael Brown situation.
I remember. We talked about it. If you can't breathe, you can't talk. We all
right.
I didn't do that. But.
And so, and then looking at the police video and like, yeah, no, that's if I'm a police officer, and I'm my height, Michael Brown's a pretty tall guy, stocky. I mean, he can be a little intimidating just by stature alone, So I was making that kind of defense, and it just like, no, that doesn't make it right at all.
No, it
and
doesn't.
So,
and then you revisit all of the thought processes you had in the past, and you're like,
I'm revisiting the shit that I've said to my students before. I'm revisiting things that that I was teaching my kids. I was revisiting things that
you were taught
my brother
yourself.
and I were having, my family and I were having conversations about, and just
damn. And it's not you're selling out your identity, because what identity is there? That's ultimately, we want to get to the good person versus evil person identity.
Exactly. But see now, but if you were to put that paradigm in front of your average white person,
you're taking away my whiteness. Ooh, we talked about that yesterday.
Well, you ask them, what is good, what is bad?
Well, they'll tell you.
They'll give you the nice general answer.
Mm-hmm.
But then, what does that person look like?
Well, I'm not racist. Bam. Wait. When you talk about racism, where the hell that come from?
I mean, you talk about, well, we live in a good neighborhood. We live in a safe neighborhood. Well,
what the fuck is that? I live in a safe neighborhood.
What are you talking about? Why is it safe? Why is it good?
No, somebody did steal my trash can now. That's just hood shit. But
yeah, that's I can't speak to that.
I know, right? Who the fuck? It's a trash can.
That's just messed up. Everybody's got their same size trash can and recycling bin.
I know.
So
right?
what's the problem?
Why would you take?
Why would you need a second one? Anyway.
I'm always sidebarring a little bit. Exactly,
yeah, a little bit. Gotta have some levity in the heavy conversations, right?
But the reality, so then it's like we're trying to get to the crooks. We're trying to get to the nucleus as to how to wake those people up that are like, like I said, I know for a fact people are hanging flags in their living room, the Confederate flag, because they're saying, I want to hold on to my Southern identity.
Well, then honey, let them do it.
You walk with your Southern identity everywhere you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
You walk with your pride of your individual, okay? Because let me tell you something.
But what you do behind your own closed door, behind your closed door is nobody's business but your own, unless you decide to make it people's business.
Exactly.
So.
But hold on, but that holds some type of mentality, Jared.
But throughout their daily interactions, maybe someone along the way will plant that seed, so to speak. And he's going to come across other people that make him question. And then maybe eventually, hey man, we got an Ed Norton American History X situation.
Let's talk about something we never talk about real quick. I like that. I like that reference. Ed Norton. Yeah. I like that. I like that.
For those who have not seen the movie American History X, I highly recommend.
Yes, that's a good. I like, because he has like a learning, like he's not learning. He's very intelligent.
No, he has a huge learning experience.
But he's very intelligent.
Yeah.
And he has I like that. I like that. My thing is, and he remembers. I like that movie. But I've never talked about my Jewish identity. Me being recognized and recognizing myself as a Jewish woman. Mm-hmm. And the one thing I will share about this identity that I do love and I'm proud of, okay, is the fact that within the community, one of the main objectives is to question always. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's within the religion itself. Whether you look at Judaism as a socialized society, or a race identity, or religion itself, you are always to question.
Yeah.
And not question without seeking knowledge. You're supposed to question.
Not question as far as confrontational and hey, you're wrong. No. Yeah, it's not.
Exactly.
Yeah, got it. Exactly.
You have to seek knowledge.
Exactly.
So that is what I want to share, because if you're not in the community, it's pervasive. It is encouraged. And it's not encouraged just to argue. It's encouraged to seek a resolution.
Seek resolution. Absolutely love it.
And so that's where, so when I'm like people, and it's so when I argue with people, I'll revisit this when I had on my page, and it was like, God knows how many hits. We were talking about the Star Spangled Banner, the song, and I was like, it's racist. I was adamant. Everybody was like, it is. And then it was one, you know, I lost a couple of friends based to it on it. But then it was a Black friend that came in and was like, no, it really isn't a race. She's like, a lot of shit Americans said were racist. But really, this stanza and this one has nothing to do with race. And actually, right, that's true, Jared. Actually, no, it was an education months ago.
It actually says slave and trotting on.
Because they used the slave, it wasn't a reference. It wasn't a racist reference. It was actually a reference to the individuals within the country at the time. Yeah, I know. And so
you can't make that distinction. I'm sorry.
It was true. I was educated.
We're gonna have to continue this conversation.
Yes.
Because
so with that means it proved. I mean, like, you can sit here and be adamant about something, but if you're posed with, you know, arguments, and it made people feel better, the ones that were just like, no, I really don't think it's a racist song. It made people say, see, I really was right. Even though they were, you know, very right-winged. They were very right-winged. Mm-hmm. They were right. And this is where we have to question ourselves. We could sit here and say, we're right. Like, we have awesome conversations. Mm-hmm. But we're always open to
absolutely
discussion, debate.
Yeah. And that's why I say we need to have the conversation more about the Star Spangled Banner, because I'm completely disagreeing with you. Yeah,
I can't recall exactly what
we're gonna we're kind of running down on our times. So that being said, guys, we hope that you enjoyed the conversation. I know that we might have gotten sidebarred a couple of times, but regardless, we do hope that you enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions or concerns or comments, we really, really want to hear from you guys. We want to know what you're thinking. We want to know how you feel about the conversations. We want to get your input. Shoot.
Yeah.
Throw it out to us. What do you think? So we're getting a lineup again of guests coming up in the next couple of weeks. So again,
thank you for part of the conversation.
Absolutely. Let us know what questions you have, or let us know what questions you would like us to ask. You can send those to tntwithmj@gmail.com. Again, that's tntwithmj@gmail.com. You can like and follow us on Facebook. I think that one's TNTW/MJ. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube. You can find our podcast just about anywhere other than iTunes, and I'll just leave it there. So again, hope you enjoyed the conversation. We look forward to hearing from you or having you join us again next week. So with that being said, Monet, final word.
This week's final word is, please reinvest in self-love. Learning how important it is to love yourself makes it very easy for you to love others. It's very important. And with that being said, love you.